the key learning, if I look at PNG, I think the biggest takeaway, okay, is the fact that is what they call the one-page memo. Okay, so let me explain that a bit to you. So everything in PNG is communicated using a single page. Okay, so essentially, one of the things when you join PNG as a management training, one of the things they'll teach you is to condense things down to a single page. So they will give you a 400-page research report and say, now give me a one-page summary of this. Okay. Now, the first time you do it, that summary that you write of that 400-page report is going to go up and down between your boss and you 25 times. Okay. But the thing is, once you master that, you learn exactly how to get to the heart of things. Okay. And to communicate so crisply and precisely that it's a skill that lasts for the rest of your life. So that's the one big thing that you pick up over there in PNG. With Reckitt, it's a little different. It's a much more broader perspective. And I think, if I think back, I think what I picked up a lot over there was just working with different cultures. Because it's a really, really very international company. You learn how to work with Europeans, with Americans, with people from South America, South Africa. You learn so much about cultures that there's growth in that itself. So that's basically it. So the message I would have, okay, if you're looking for a career in marketing, is I think it's a very exciting career, okay, per se, and I think this is a very exciting time to be in marketing. Okay, why do I say that? I think it's an exciting career because if you look at marketing, there are two sides to it. One is the quantitative side of marketing and one is the psychological side of marketing. Personally, I get very excited by the psychological side. And I think that given neuroscience and given all the work that's being done on that side, we know a lot more about the brain now than we've ever known before. And we're learning more every day. And that has great implications on marketing. So it's a really exciting time to be a marketer. On top of that, add the fact that given the net and everything, you have big data, you have analytics, you have so much, you know everything about your consumer. The smartphone just keeps giving you more and more data. I think it's a fantastic time to be a marketer. Sometimes I wish, I could have started a marketing career today rather than, 25 years ago. It would have been a different story. Certainly, it has changed the way people look at marketing. It has changed actually in two ways. Okay, one, I think people, on the one hand, people realize the value of marketing. Okay, and I think, ironically, those are the guys who are actually in the startups. Okay, they see the value of marketing because they enter a crowded marketplace and they need to make their voice heard. Okay, that's one. On the other hand, and I see this with the student community almost thinks marketing is irrelevant. Okay, because the way they see, when they look at brands like Ola or Uber or Oyo or any of these brands, they don't see too much of marketing per se. Okay, and they feel in the age of the net, etc., concepts such as positioning and advertising, where's the relevance for all of this? Okay, but the fact is that the net and all the new means of communication that we have are just tools. The basic concepts haven't changed, right? So the implementation if 20 years ago the implementation of a communication strategy meant TV, today the communication strategy means online, it means Twitter, it means Instagram, it means whatever else, Snapchat, whatever else, 5 things over there, okay? But the basic principle of designing that communication hasn't changed. So marketing is still very relevant, it's just that the context has changed. Okay, so I think to answer your question, that's really where it is. Okay, social media, I think, has changed it in the way that we reach consumers. Okay, so today, reaching consumers is slightly different. Okay, on the one hand, social media allows you to be far more targeted than you used to be previously. Okay. So if you were to go to advertise on something like Facebook today, you can really, really target very, very closely, much closer than you could have in the old days. Okay, that's one thing. The other thing I think has been the rise of influencers. Okay, so across platforms like YouTube or Instagram or whatever, even Facebook for that matter. Okay, you have the rise of influencers, and suddenly we've seen people who previously influencers would be people like film stars or cricketers or things like that. And now it could just be people like you and me can suddenly become influencers. And I think that's something that marketers are learning to deal with. How do you manage influencers? How do you leverage them as best as you can? I think that's one thing that we're still working on. Rather than avoid, I think if people stay with the basics, you can't really go wrong. If you stay with the basics and you use common sense in the way you build a marketing campaign, you can't really go wrong. I think what happens is we get caught up in this razzmatazz of the net and startups and valuations and all of that, and we forget the basics. If you just stay with the basics, if you just ask yourself, what does the consumer want? What is the consumer's behavior? How are they buying? What is the process that leads them from actually thinking about something to the time they buy it? You can't really go wrong. That's all there is to it. There's no rocket science. Because the fact of the matter is that the days when individuals could achieve are over. Unless you're in research or unless you're in academia or something, you've got to work in teams. Even in places like this, you've got to work in teams. Okay, so you've got to work in teams, and you've got to be able to lead teams. And nowadays, you lead virtual teams. Your team doesn't have to sit in the same place as you do. Okay, and one of the core skills for a leader has got to be the skill of listening. If you're not willing to listen to the people who work for you, you're not going to be able to lead them. Okay? And particularly in this age of teams that are spread across the world, sometimes you may not even understand the cultural context. Okay? And if you're not willing to listen, how on earth are you going to know what's happening? It's difficult enough in your own culture. Cross culture, it's practically impossible. So it may sound like a really simple thing to do, but it's probably the most important thing, just the ability to listen. That's what it is.